All right. Cool. All right. Tanakoto Katoa. To Catherine Aho. Your examiner for RECN393. So yeah, probably many of you know that already, but we lost it. You have the carpet now. So yeah, basically today I want to just talk to you and meet and answer any questions you might have about the RECN393 internship, and have that calendar up here. Well, I guess let me just start by saying the Learn page, what I'm trying to do is set up a second Learn page for those of you who are going to start your hours early. Actually, I prefer everyone starts their hours before the second semester of next year. And that's because I want you to be happy students. So this is 2022 calendar. And if you look at, this is the second semester down here, it starts, I don't know if you want to write any of these dates down, but I can email you these calendars. It starts on the 18th of July. So just talking about the internship is 120 hours. So you want to try and get, I would say, at least 60 hours done. So at least half your hours finished before 18 July 2022. Now, what's going to happen, this is very unique, this class, because you actually do the hours before you ever go on to Lucas and what's it called, My Link. Yeah, before you ever go on to My Link and actually enroll for the class, you will work some of the hours. So I prefer you get as many done as you can, but I do realize every internship is unique, and so that's what makes it a little bit difficult for me to try and manage. So if at any point you feel like, oh, this class is disorganized and I didn't know what I was doing, well, guess what? That is actually how this course runs, because each internship is unique. Some people could start their internship next week. Come on in, how's it going, Nico? So just started, just saying it's 120 hours, and want you to get at least half of them done before the 18th of July next year. And you can start anytime. You can do 5 hours a week. Or does it come out to 20? Is it 24 weeks? 40? Anyway, you can do 5 hours a week. You can do 10 hours a week. You can do, if you're doing events, oftentimes those are on the weekend. So you can do events. Now you might be planning the event as well, which won't just be on the weekend, but before that. But if you're doing events, oftentimes a lot of the hours come kind of leading right up to the event and on the event day. If you're doing something with Department of Conservation, you might be kind of all over the board, and you might be working with different folks within that. So the key is you can start these hours as soon as you get me your internship contract. So I'm going to email you today the template for the internship contract. It's best if you read that. And I'm also going to send you the calendar so that you know. I'm going to send you both of them. So let's just have a look at the 2021. So let's see where we're at now. So right now, we're the 9th of September. So what will be Thursday, right over here, end of break. Classes start up next week. So I was hoping over the last few days of this break, you can do a bit of research on what you want to do. Now, I'm still working with Andrew to get you access to the Learn page. So I hope to have that by the end of today. Otherwise, I'm going to just email you the opportunities because there's about 3 out there right now. And the other idea is I can give you what I've got here is a list of the different internships on offer. So first, there's a folder in here, and it's got a few listings here. And the most recent one, I'll just show you these right now. So this was 2 days ago. Avon Estuary, Avon Heathcote Estuary Ihutai Trust. If you know Kieran, what's his last name? Kieran, who's a 3rd-year student. Kieran Kusabs. If you know him, he's doing this currently. So the main part of that is you're going to get your hands dirty. And this is the internship contract, just so you know. It starts off with a 1-pager saying, hello, supervisor and intern. This is the internship. Welcome. The idea is to create a career path. So welcome. So some of you are going to be thinking, this is what I want to do. There's kind of 2 ways of thinking of internship. You can think of it as, I want to have a foot in the door for a job that I know I want to get. Or if you have no idea what job you want to get, you can use this as a kind of, well, I'm not sure if I want this job, but let's have a go doing this in an internship. So in the end, you're going to have knowledge whether you want that as a job or not. So in the end, it will be beneficial for you. But if you're, this is parts for the supervisor, but if they're a supervisor looking to recruit an intern and they haven't identified one, they're going to complete section A, they're going to give it to me, and I'm going to post it on the internship page. So they're going to say, hey, I have this opportunity. It looks like this. And then you get to read that and say, oh, I want that. Okay. So I also tell supervisors, some of them, they say, look, I don't care if I get an intern from Lincoln, from UC, from Otago, it doesn't matter. I'll take anyone. So some of them will post the internship opportunities, not with me, but on that New Zealand Uni Career Hub. So go to that link, you get emails from it, and just sign up on there. And then just as an FYI, once you graduate, you can still have access to that. So there are jobs posted on there. So it's really good to keep an eye on that. And that's run through all of kind of New Zealand universities. Now, some people will say, I just want a Lincoln student. So they will put jobs in there just for Lincoln students. But otherwise, they'll send me this back, the complete section A, and they'll scroll down to section A and have a look at the opportunity. And then if you're a student, you're not going to enroll in it this semester. So those of you here today are looking for this for next year. So you're going to enroll then, but I'm going to try and get you onto the Learn page. It may not be the official one because we're having some issues with that, but I'm going to probably duplicate the existing Learn page so you can get onto that and have a look at what is all involved. And yeah, and students need to complete section B after your supervisor completed section A. And then you can go back to your supervisor and say, hey, look, you wanted me to be digging holes for 50 hours. I think that's not like the best internship opportunity. I want to learn a little bit more of the management. I'm happy to dig holes for 10 hours, but I don't want to do, nearly half my internship digging holes because I don't feel like that's utilizing what I learned at uni. So don't just listen to your supervisor and say yes, yes. And, you have a chance to negotiate and say, look, I was really hoping I could get some opportunities doing marketing or getting my hands dirty doing whatever. And I want to have a look at what your promotions team is doing. Is there any way I can do 10 hours with them? So negotiate it. And sometimes when the students do that, the supervisor's like, oh, I actually, I didn't think of that. Yeah, let's get you in with so-and-so next week. She's doing a project on Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. So if you read this overview, it's basically, hopefully everything you know by now, just from seeing me in class, but some of you who haven't, it is the, kind of a capstone to your, especially if you're in sport and rec, it's a capstone class for your degree. So it's taking everything you learned and going out there and actually doing it in a degree. And then those of you who may be doing another degree, but you have event management or tourism management or parks and outdoor rec, it's also part of that. So it's in the interest of you to really take this internship contract seriously. Again, it's 120 hours. And you as a student, you're responsible to keep track of your hours. So I'll send that timesheet out as well. Okay, so I'm going to send you the calendars, timesheet, and the contract. Because on your timesheet, you're going to tell me what you did. And don't just say work with marketing, because you can do that every day and I'll have no idea what you actually did. You might say, developed a program for the, five-a-side tournament or something, So tell me what you actually worked on each day and then how many hours, so that you can keep track of how many you have left. And if you get close to June and you only have 10 hours, it might work. You might want to contact me and let me know if you have some time issues. It's better to do that early than at the end, because students sometimes get cut out. But I need to see this contract before you start working hours. So you do not work hours. You don't just call me next week and say, hey, I already did 40 hours. I'll be like, I didn't even see your contract. Because what I want to do is protect you, that you're doing valid work. I can always go back. If you had a meeting and you're super nervous and you didn't speak up, but maybe deep down inside you're like, I don't know if I want to do this, this particular aspect of it, we can talk and I can talk to the supervisor. I mean, it's always best if you develop a rapport with the supervisor and can communicate yourself. But if I see the supervisor has you cleaning toilets for 80 hours, like, I'm not going to sign off on that. So the idea is, these are some student responsibilities. The main thing is really discuss the timing of the internship. So if it's over summer and you've already got something, you got a summer job or whatever, then you can't do it. In fact, if you're doing cricket, there's a lot of cricket stuff in November. That's when they do their tournaments. That's when they need students. If you're not available in November, you're probably not going to get in with cricket, just because that's the timing of the sport. So, or you don't work your job and instead, just depends on your situation. Each person will be different. Figure out what days are best for you to work and what days are best for the supervisor, and you're going to negotiate that when you meet with him or her. Yeah, I do ask the supervisors to actually list the hours that each task will take. Some of them will have 3 different projects for you to work on, and maybe they're 40 hours each. Some of you have 5 different things, and some things will be 40 hours and there'll be 2 or 3 things that are only 4 hours each. So, but I want them to list exactly what you're going to be doing. It's meant to look like a job description, and that way you know what you're in for, kind of. So whatever the dress code of the organization is, keep that in mind. If there's any confidentiality, that's one thing maybe you haven't had a lot of experience with, but sometimes organizations do things a certain way and they don't really want that to be spread to the public. So you need to, if someone says, between you and I, or, you need to keep that confidentiality, and you can always ask them just to check. I shouldn't even mention this to my friends, right? And they'll say, yeah. Yeah, if you're going to be gone, if you have a wedding or something to attend or something coming up, that's something you will list down lower in the contract. let me know if you have any problems along the way. Yeah, log your hours daily. There's a timesheet on the Learn page, which I'll send you that via email until I sort the Learn page out. And there are some assignments, which usually students, it just depends how organized you are and how full on it is when you do your hours. Some students are able to kind of do the assignments as they go, and they like that because everything's fresh in their mind. Even if you keep a journal of, not a journal, just one sheet of paper where you write down something that happened. Just for one of the assignments, you have to write down kind of a moment when you had like an aha moment. It can be for good or bad. You can say, whoa, I never realized that this is something that actually happens in sport. Or and I was surprised in a good or bad way. And so you'll do an assignment that's related on that. So if there is a moment where you're like, oh, and then, later on, you might actually forget it. But if there is one of those, right, just note that down, and then it'll help jog your memory later on. And then after, well, I guess I'll get to the assignments later, but there is an assignment after you do 60 hours. You give feedback to yourself, like a self-appraisal. How are you doing so far? And then that's just like an online survey. And then you'll send that same online survey to your supervisor, and they'll do it. And both of you get to see the other person's responses. And you can see, because some students will be like, yeah, I think I could do better. And the supervisor's like, man, you're doing great. So it's really hard for you as students to know, how am I doing? So I usually have students assess themselves, and then the supervisor says it. Now, if the student says, yeah, I'm really kicking butt, and the supervisor's like, mate, you're not even showing up on time. And when you're here, you're on smokos all the time or whatever. So now that, I think that's maybe happened once in my 5 years here, but it's usually not the case. But that's just a good way to see, how do you think you're doing? How do they think you're doing? And then if there's any changes, I also offer an opportunity for both of you to meet and just talk about how it's going. And it can be harsh listening to it, but usually the supervisor will also tell you positive things as well. So, and it's your chance. I mean, there's no better time to learn and to get criticized than in an internship when there's no paycheck. You're not going to get fired. So, so you do have an opportunity. I advise students to take it and say, yeah, I'm happy to meet with you, but the supervisor, maybe they don't have time or they don't want to meet. And sometimes one of the two of you will say no. And in that case, you just don't meet, but it's up to you. But if you have any issues, if someone's saying things like, even colleagues, maybe it's not your supervisor, but someone else. I've had students come to me and say, yeah, so-and-so said this. And I'm like, well, that's not okay. And it was, yeah, I told her, I was like, oh, I wish you would have told me sooner. I did contact the supervisor afterwards. But if something is happening and you feel like, oh, that's not sitting well with me, just ask me and I'll tell you if it's okay or not. And we'll, I don't want to make you look like, like a complainer. But at the same time, you need to be protected. And if colleagues are treating the students poorly, then that's not okay with me. So we need to make a change, because then the next student's going to have that situation and I'll have no idea what's going on. So keep in touch with me, especially if something bad is going on. But if there's also something really great, let me know, because then I can even say, hey, next year, I want to make sure we work with these people every year, because they're so valuable to what the students are doing and learning here. So supervisors, make sure you gain experience in your area of interest. And I also ask them to invite you to meetings and things like that. So it may sound boring for you, but that's your chance to introduce yourself and get your face and your name out there. Every time you shake someone's hand or you say a comment at a meeting, people are like, oh, who is that? Who is that student? Oh, it's a Lincoln student. Oh, what's his name? And they kind of go from there. So try and go to all the meetings you can, because that's a place to just extend that network. I want them to give a safe environment for you, physically, mentally, all aspects. Present the student with policies and operational procedures if you're expected to know some of those things during the internship. Develop the goals and objectives, and you'll see that below. And if there's any poor performance issues, like I said, I've had one person call complaining about their student once, so it does happen. And another student had a learning disability having to do with dyslexia, and she didn't tell the supervisor that, and the supervisor put her on the register. And she was like, why is she so slow at giving back change? And she never communicated that. So I know it can be awkward to talk about disabilities and things like that, but if you want, because she got really upset and called me and was like, I don't know what's wrong with the student. She's just like, as soon as she's on the register, she's hopeless. And I was like, okay. And then I realized, oh my gosh, she's got dyslexia. So if you can communicate that early and maybe even before you sign the contract, because if the person's like, oh, well, you're going to be dealing always with words and numbers, you can usually find a way around it. But I'd be happy to be part of that conversation if it's a kind of, if it's going to make a difference in getting the internship or not. Usually we can find ways around it. But like I said, that's only happened once. So make sure you communicate some of those things. If you have something that's going to prevent you from engaging in a part of the internship. Injuries as well, things like that. Don't push it. You're not meant to be a slave. You're meant to get something out of it in a safe way. So be open and say, look, you know, I'm expected to be able to lift 50 kg. Well, probably not that much, 50 pounds, but there's no way I have my back is messed up, so I can't do that part of the job, whatever. So mainly read through this. As the intern, I want you to do all the arranging. So the supervisor just says, yes, let's go. You say 4 o'clock Thursday, that's your job to arrange that, okay? So this internship is really the chance for you to put the big boy pants on and start acting like a professional and not waiting for someone to contact you, but you going out there. So you arrange the meeting, you do what's called a cold call, even though it's not a phone call anymore. Usually it's an email to potential supervisors. Some of you have already done this and you've done a great job, I will admit. You can, if you're not sure how your email reads, you can send it to me. I'll edit it for you and say, hey, include at least 3 times. You don't want to include 20 times, it's a bit overwhelming, but at least 3 times when you can meet them at a place of their choice, usually you either at their office or at a local cafe, and then you shout them a coffee as a way of thanking them for their time. It looks very nice and professional and people love it. And it is a known fact, there's research on it. If someone's holding a hot drink, I'm not sure if it actually is still true during summer, but throughout most of the year, if they're holding a hot drink, they're more likely to be agreeable. So if you, just as a tip, if you want someone to agree with some of the ideas you may be giving them in a meeting, make sure you get them a hot drink in their hand. So you invite them to a meeting, you can say the place, or you can ask them, you know, you can suggest, how about this place because it's right outside your office, or if you prefer any place you prefer, I'll meet you there. Make sure you take notes during the meeting, you know, bring your laptop, bring the contract, and you can kind of mash through that contract right there in your first meeting. And you may find that you just shut the laptop and actually this isn't going to work because it's during summer and I can't, you know, but you would want to get through some of those details probably in the email. Say, I'm available during these times, and I saw the internship is also during these times. But if you're if you're emailing someone who has not posted an internship, that's completely okay. That's how I got my internship when I was in your seat. I emailed one, there was not an opportunity, and I just said, hey, you guys need me. I I'm like all for, I align well with your mission and vision. And then I had to email them about probably 5 times, and I was so annoying to them that they finally said yes. And the cool thing is now they actually have that internship as a full-time role. So I started something, and now as a result, they were like, oh, let's keep doing it. It was like a facility manager role at a place that trains professional athletes. So, so don't be afraid to, if you really want to work with an organization, you're like, that is my dream job, I totally want to work there. Don't just take the opportunities we have. Just contact someone, say, hey, I'm this awesome student named Nico, and you need me, and this is why, because I can bring this. And I can tell you this, if you're good at social media and advertising and kind of marketing and taking photos at events and posting them the same day, if you can keep that kind of customer engagement, just about any sports organization will take you. Because people kind of my age and older, they, not all of them, but in general in sports, when this is volunteer, that's the last thing they have time to do. But it's one of the #1 ways for them to increase their membership. So in fact, who was it? Christ College emailed me yesterday and said, if you have someone who can do social media stuff, we'd take them on instantly. And it would be, is a lot of work in that area. So kind of that marketing, motivating people, getting the stories out, you know, and getting photos, pushing stuff through on the social networks. They don't have time, and it's just an extra thing that they wish they had someone to do it. And I do tell them, I'm like, look, our students aren't IT professionals, but they could probably manage a few things. So make sure you mention what type of work you want to engage in and what you definitely don't want to do. And think about all, you know, RECN393, what were those things in your personality? What did it say? And if you want that link again, if you forgot where that's at, or if you can look at your, it's called Myers-Briggs personality inventory. If you look that up again, see where you're at, see what your skill set is and what you're absolutely not good at, and be clear to them what those are, because that can help kind of direct you, be like, actually, probably not really well suited for this. Make sure you ask questions, because they're not mind readers. And you're going to walk out there without knowing if you don't. So try and write in a formal style. So don't write like you text with the lowercase i's and the, you know, hey, don't say hey, say hello or dear, or something formal is always better as your default. Hey is like what you shout to someone that you don't know. And if you're not using their names, like, hey you, it can come off kind of rude in an email. So when you're making that first contact, make sure it's formal, and make sure you always thank them for their time. And you can always call them an expert. As long as they've been in the field for more than kind of 5 years, just say it would be great to work with someone like you as an expert in the field of blah, blah, blah. And people are really pretty happy to hear that, as you can imagine. But yeah, if you want to email it to me, a first draft, I can do that. If you feel confident your email is nice, feel free to put me in CC. When you send an email, you're saying, look, I'm a Lincoln student. Some people are like, delete. But if you're like, I'm a Lincoln student and my teacher, my examiner, whatever you want to call me, is CC'd in this email, then it's like, oh, and then they look in at CC like, oh, that's Catherine. She's the one that emails us 10,000 times a year about, yeah. And then they start to link those things like, oh, that's the one who just asked, because I just emailed them last week saying, who's got internships? And I've gotten like 3 back already. But then when you go in and send them an email and say, hey, I'm Nico, I want this internship. Now they'll be like, oh yeah, crap, I forgot to email Catherine back. Totally, yeah, I'll do it, you know. And that's when you'll get, as soon as they see my name, I think that helps, rather than just saying Lincoln. Sometimes they don't connect it. And then once you're both happy with the draft of the contract, then you'll both pop in your electronic signatures, which is kind of how we do things nowadays. So you're going to save the file as a doc and then save it somewhere, but not on Learn, because, well, right now you're not on the 393 page, but not until second semester, because right now people are submitting stuff for the current semester. So if you were to submit something, it gets a bit messed up. But just save everything you do. In fact, just make an internship file folder. So this is an internship available to you right now. This is with Tanya. Like I said, a student's already doing it, and she said happy with him and happy to take another one because it's been a great relationship. So it would start this summer, 120 hours. It's considered, well, the job would be an internship at the Estuary Trust for Parks and Recreation major in particular. $200 COHA on the completion of it, which is pretty nice. Some people will pay folks, pay you. Text is okay for kind of if you're going to be late or something. She likes to meet every fortnight. And so here I just have some instructions to explain the supervisor. This is section A still, by the way. So this is section A. This is what the supervisor completes. And if they don't complete it, can you just ask them to say, hey, you missed this top section, do you mind? Or you can fill it in and say, hey, did I do it correctly? Because just remember, they're pretty time poor. So any way you can help out is going to look really good on you. And they'll be like, man, he was a go-getter. He really did everything. So I didn't have to, I just checked it and it was good. Just think about what would make you happy if someone would do that for you. And then, make sure you do this thing. So some of the tasks required. This is what the student's doing this year. So I'm not sure if these things would still go through, but she said, yeah, happy to take another student. I told her I'm going to copy paste the contract from last year, but some things may be changed, but these are the types of things you'd be involved with. So there's the Charlesworth Reserve. There's a monitoring project, 20 hours. You're going to assist some of the ecologists with monitoring. So this is set up, baiting, tracking tunnels. Next day, checking the tunnels. There's wooden discs, corrugated sheets, insect, skinks, pests, and recording the findings. So it's really monitoring. It's really a kind of type of research out in the outdoors. 3 sessions at 7 to 8 hours each, and dates will be confirmed. But it is, again, this is over the summer. Attend some of the board meetings. That's 5 hours. And so that's 2 meetings. So that'll be cool. You get to meet people and see exactly how the not-for-profit sector works, which is very different from the other sectors. And you'll learn that, which will be pretty fun. They have working groups that do restoration projects. So you'll help out with those. So if you think of that as a kind of event, it's a sort of event management in a way. Because you're going to have different types of people volunteering on those days. So you'll help to organize that. She said to check the signage on 2 walking tracks. So that'd be pretty cool. You actually get to go walk on the 2 different tracks here, 8 hours. Check and replace signage. So you're going to check the condition of it and keep track of that kind of stuff. And then assist with community events. So I have a feeling that will be bumped up a bit over the summer, because that's when a lot of stuff happens. So perhaps if you do this internship, this will be more than 10 hours. And then other kind of on demand for odd jobs, a few more hours there. So just that'll be kind of up in the air. And then she kind of filled this out. What are the expectations? Showing initiative for your own time management. Self-oriented tasks. Using initiative to seek a task at any of the sites that might be kind of needing maintenance or whatever. So just if you see something, I remember when I worked with my dad cleaning the school. It was my first job at the age of 8, and I was like, Dad, what do I do? And there was this happening, and what should I do? And he said, Catherine, if you see a problem, just fix it. If something's dirty, clean it. And I was like, as soon as he told it to me that way, instead of asking for, oh, this looked a bit dusty, he just said, look, if something looks dirty, then clean it. And then that was kind of my, so, you know, and that's kind of what they're looking for. Look, if you see a problem on the job, instead of asking each time, oh, should I do that? Just assuming you have time to do it, just do it. And then you can mention to the supervisor after, oh yeah, while I was out, I noticed the park bench was cracked. And so I actually put some red tape over that. I think we need to go back. I know the job was only to look at the signs, but I saw, you know, it's obviously a hazard when someone damaged the bench. And so we need to go in there, you know, and that just shows your initiative. So things like that. I know it sounds real basic, but it kind of goes for any internship. If you see something, you're like, yeah, it's probably not good, but the supervisor didn't tell me to look for that, but yeah, then definitely go for it. Open and clear communication. I think every supervisor is going to list something like that. If you're not happy, make sure you ask and get the manager involved if it's something that's especially troubling. But in many cases, you'll be able to take that responsibility and take care of things. Expectation to be able to lead and supervise restoration groups for the trust. So acting professionally and confidently with partner organizations and community groups. So there'll be other trusts that they get to work with. And so you may go out there, especially on your first day, you'll be pretty shy and be like, oh, I'm gonna go lead, even though I've never done this before. But by the third, fourth time, you'll be like, oh, this is so easy. Yeah, so she said this will be on a kind of watch me, share the job with me, and then you do it alone. So she's not gonna necessarily set you out there on the first day, but the expectation is you kind of grow into this leadership role. And then there's section B, which you're meant to complete. So put all your details in here when you're not available, like if you know you're going back for mom's birthday, whatever. What expectations do you have of the supervisor? Now you can see a lot of supervisors will keep this real short, but I want you to really be more descriptive than this. I want like 2 to 3 sentences per item. So 3 expectations you have of the supervisor. It could also be communication. It can be trust, and then explain, instead of just saying communication, trust, and honesty. It can be more, I want you to be more detailed. What does that look like in the role? So give 3 things on there, and then you'll pop in your electronic signature that saying that you agree to all this, and you'll pop the date and your name. And if you're not sure, the electronic signature instructions are down here for how to do it. So that's, wanted to make sure I got through that internship. Now, all of you folks who are online, if you want to audio in, or the folks that are here with me, does anyone have any questions just on that internship contract? So I basically, the idea is I give you this template, you fill it out as if it's, well, it's kind of like, well, what they give you is kind of like a job description, but I want you to fill out your expectations, and you can Google maybe what some other people have done. Everyone's running internships. So, you know, what expectations you should have, what would be good ones to have, you can Google that. But find out what works best for you. Sometimes people prefer really detailed instructions, and some supervisors are just kind of skim it over and say, yeah, just go, it's over there. Yeah, you'll find it. And you're like, oh gosh, and you get there and you're lost, and where is it? I wish the supervisor's more detailed. So that could be something that you say, look, when your communication, when you give that to me, I need a bit more detail than you might think. Especially some supervisors have been in the industry for 10, 20 years, and they just think you already know everything, and maybe you have no clue, or maybe you're just, you know, just starting out. So who knows? So does anyone have any questions on the contract? And you can, as they come up, you might actually open it when I send it to you. You might open it, and when questions come up, just email me.
I've got a question.
Sorry?
I've got a question. If we if we meet up with them in person, is it still best to get them to fill out the contract as if like you email it to them, or on the Word doc, or could we print it out and get them to?
Good question. It's up to you how you want to do it. I will say probably, this is probably going to sound like an ageist comment, and I suppose it is a bit, but the stereotype would be, well, I suppose the older folks do like to have a printed copy, and what you can do, and sometimes it is easier if you just sit there and fill in what you want, and then the student can go back and type that in. But at the same time, you know, then you got to use your printing, blah, blah, blah. So you can also just show up with your laptop, with your battery, because inevitably your battery will die halfway through the meeting. So bring your charger, bring a full charge, bring your charger, show up with your laptop, it's open on your computer, and you just kind of work through it together. That's, I mean, but
Okay.
yeah, if you want them to print it, in the end, I need a digital version of it.
Okay, sounds good.
So yeah, you can do the printed one, scan it, and put it as, put it in, I think you can put it in Learn as a PDF. But sometimes I can't read them. So,
So
and it would be really cool if you could get your supervisor to have an electronic signature, especially if they don't have one already. I think the older folks, some of them are so used to signing on paper, although depends on what organization, but most of them, you have to have an electronic. But if you could help them get an electronic signature, that's pretty huge bonus points, because that's their name. And they've just had access on, you just taught them how to make their name in a digital format to save them time. I think that'd be pretty epic, and that would be bonus points for you. So I've given you all the directions on that page on that. But yeah, it's really either way, but just know that you have to submit it digitally. So yeah, you can show up if you're not sure what they're gonna prefer. You can show up with both options and let them choose. That never hurts. Good question. Anyone else? Justin, did you have a question?
Yeah, are the assignments like more evaluative rather than assignments?
Yeah, let's go over. Well, let me show one other position that just popped up. So I just date, if you can see on here.
Oh, and if we don't manage to do it this summer.
Yeah,
we can still do
you
it.
can do it, and
No.
yeah, you can. No, you can't do it next summer because the semester ends in October. So yeah, it'll need to be this summer.
Right.
But you can do
Or-
it during the semester.
Oh, right, yeah, like
or-
on the holidays though.
Yeah, it just kind of depends like where it's at. So if you're like, man, there is this awesome job in or internship in Auckland, guess what? It probably needs to be during the summer.
Yeah.
But if it's in Auckland in March, you probably can't do it because you'll be back at uni. So 7 September, yeah, this is the other one. It's events coordinator, but it's for kind of adventure racing. Ooh la la. So I kind of want to do this one. That would be fun.
Can we have
Yeah.
access to that Learn page or not yet?
Not yet. I'm working on it because I used to give students access, but then I got in trouble because apparently a student without a visa got access to a page in another department, and we had the immigration contact the university saying you can't just give people access. So anyway, so now of course they've banned it for everyone, and we were quietly doing really cool stuff over here, and now we have to figure out another way. So I'm gonna probably go meet with Andrew today and get him to just duplicate that page and pop you in on that one, and it'll be like a non-teaching page. I do actually have 2 students already who, because they're on the Learn page, they thought they were enrolled in the class. So you do have to enroll. I'll send a reminder. I did, but it's still, they didn't get it. But you do actually, although you'll probably be in the Learn page in advance, you do still have to enroll on my link, the Lucas thing. But that's not till next second semester next year. So this is with Jessica Hilditch, event director at J Fusion Limited. CA Fusion Events. There's her email. So you can email her today if you want this baby. So ideally you would begin November 1st, and today is 9th of September, so it's coming up. The 1st till the 30th of November, and or the 1st of March of next year till the 30th. It's unpaid, but they compensate for petrol. Per diem for travel, all expenses covered, fuel card provided for travel to and from internship. Blah, blah, blah. Then it's, what is the responsibility? Participant management, 40 hours. Responding to email inquiries related to upcoming events. That is a huge headache. It's a lot of work for a supervised event planner to do that. So you get to do that. Assist with the creation of MailChimp marketing and event information emails. Assist with managing social media questions. Assist participant manager with assigning registration race numbers, packing of race packs, and on the day registration of participants. Sound familiar, event planning students? It's all the stuff we did. So you're also going to do confirmations for suppliers, about 20 hours there. All the suppliers have the info that they need in advance of the event, including the site maps, start and finish times. So it's really liaising with the race director and the operations manager to talking to the suppliers. It could be a coffee cart, could be food, other food trucks or whatever. It could even be the company delivering the portaloos. So suppliers is pretty broad there. Volunteer management. So you have all, well, I think most of you on this call, or many of you have done event planning. So you probably know exactly what that email looks like to your volunteers saying, hey, we need you to show up at this place at this time. Make sure you give them a really good address, because saying just show up at the casino doesn't mean a lot if you're not from Christchurch. Yeah, so doing those communication and working with the volunteers and marshals. And then on the race day, attending the actual race. So there's an ultra in Craigieburn in November, and the coastal ultra in the Catlins in March, and providing assistance as above, along with assisting with the setup and pack down. Giving you 120 hours. So if you're into events and that's a running event, then you're going to download this. Well, I'll probably email you this one today. I'll email you those 2 opportunities today. If I can't get you up on the Learn page. The idea would be I'll just get you on the Learn page and everything is there for you to get it yourself, but I'll see how far I can get today with them. And then this is what you're going to fill out, section B, and that's all blank. And then you'll sign and date it, but you won't do that until after you meet the supervisor. You can meet the supervisor on Zoom. Given our situation right now, it might be quicker and easier. You could actually, who knows, you might email Jessica today and have a Zoom tomorrow, and you'll have the internship by the end of the week. So, well, then you just send me this form completed. I'll say, yeah, totally, go for it. Or I'll say, hey, your expectations look pretty weak. Why don't you bump them up a bit more? Because then your supervisor knows, whoa, Justin told me he wanted good detailed communication. And yeah, I'm actually just giving him generic stuff. No wonder he's irritated with me. So, but make sure you're detailed on those, and I'll send it back to you, and you'll send me some edits, and I'll say, go for it. And then you'll start working the 120 hours. And some of these are a little bit old and dated, but I wanted to post them on there and leave them there. That way you can be like, oh, there was this Easter pool party. Of course, it was posted in February, so I think the event is over. But just know that Selwyn Aquatic Center in the very recent past has put an opportunity up, and then you can have a look. That's with Sam Lawson. I know she's been itching for people in program and events. But yeah, she wanted that internship to start ASAP, but they might be doing that again next year. So I've left those on. That way, if you're like, whoa, this is totally me, So some of these it's actually creating a completely new event for Easter pool party. Oh no, it's not new. It's been done before, but they're looking for a fresh take on it. Have you worked with her before? No. So, and then a report of the event. So this one is pretty open. You're gonna get there on the day to coordinate, set up, run it. But yeah, so if you're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool, I'm into swimming stuff, pool parties, whatever, you can actually get in contact and say, look, I've seen you posted this in February. Do you have any other kind of similar thing? And she'll be like, oh yeah, it's not the pool party, but now it's this other one, a Christmas pool party. So I've left all those up there. And let's see. What I do want to show you quickly are the calendars. So this is 2021. Study break. I mean, realistically, you probably won't. You might be able to arrange some stuff on the stars are the field trip days. You might be able to make sure, okay, on this is the 24th of September is a field trip day. And you might be able to arrange, that's the day you meet your supervisor. Because you know, look, I don't have classes on that day. I'll be free. I'm going to take that day to meet the supervisor and arrange whatever for the summer. Summer more or less starts once your exams are over. So the very latest day for your exam would be 11th of November. So on the 12th of November, you could actually start working kind of your summer stuff if you want one weekend to have fun. So 15th of November is when you might want to start. Now, if you saw that one internship, she said she wanted someone to start on the 1st. And that's when the exams begin. So you may be able to contact her and say, look, you can get me at the 15th, but I got these exams. So yeah, it might not work. Or maybe you don't have many exams, who knows? Or maybe your exams are done in the first week. So that's communication. I think do we have the exam schedule yet? I don't think it's out yet. It should be coming out really soon. So as soon as you get that info, you can contact that person. So you basically have 15th of November. If you're doing summer school, there's November summer school during that time, but I'm guessing most of you aren't. And then just looking into next year. So semester starts, first semester starts second semester, 10th of Jan. No, that's summer semester, sorry, February 21st. So you have till 15th of November, write that down, 15th of November to 21st of Feb to get your internship hours, like at least crack into 60 of them if you can. Now there will be some sports, they're like, oh, our season starts on the 7th of March. And you're like, okay, well, what can you do? Have a look. Look at those gray blocks. Gray is a magical color on this uni calendar because that's your break. So you can say, look, over Easter holidays, which happen to start on the 11th of April and go until about the 1st of May, if you count that weekend. Over those 3 weeks, I'm going to smash out 120 hours, possibly. That'd be pretty full on. But I'm going to smash out even 80 hours. And then once the second semester starts, maybe over that 2-week break, well, that's a bit of a bummer. It's only a 2-week semester break in the second semester, but whatever. Then you're going to smash out the rest of the hours. Okay, so you can do that, or you can even look in between the semesters. Exams end on 25th. You'll probably have that weekend. So 27th of June till about the 17th of July, you could do hours in between the 2 semesters as well. So if you're not getting a summer internship, all is not lost. But just know you can do work over the gray days here, the breaks, or you can also do, like a lot of students will do 5 hours every Friday. So it just depends how the internship runs and what role they want you to do. Now, if you're doing one of that event one I just showed you, 5 hours every Friday is probably not going to work because it's going to be more focused around just before 2 weeks before the event is when you're going to do it. Think about all that communication you did for your events. It was always right before the event actually happened. So if it's events, the 5 hours a week may not work. But it depends. So those calendars are going to be really important for you to download, and I'll email them to you just so you have them, because that is magic. You can plan your whole life on those things, and you don't want to. It's nice to just say, oh yeah, look at my calendar on my phone, and it says I've got nothing on in that time period. But you got to think about how the semester is going to run, and you know already that examiners like to give crunch time that week before the semester break. You know, you're always having those kind of midterm tests, essay, stuff like that on that week before the mid-semester break. So maybe you wouldn't want to, you might want to say, oh, the week of April 4th, I can't do anything. And they'll say, oh, that's when we need you. Okay, well, might not work. So keep your sanity in mind. And I just want to show you the assignments, and then let you
How much percent is the internship for the course?
It's 100. I mean, the hours. So, well, I'll show you. It's a little bit confusing. Let me just show you. So there's assignments. So the internship contract template that I sent you. There's 6 assignments. There you go. So the first one is worth 15%. The hours, and yeah, I'll tell you at the end about the hours, but the contract is 15%. So that's why I said, make sure you give some content on your expectations of the supervisor, because that's the main thing I'm grading. Otherwise, I'm just grading what they wrote. So that's 15%. You submit that on that link there. Next one is a YouTube learning reflection. So YouTube is pretty handy to know how to use. So that's why I do it, but you can keep it private so that the whole world doesn't make a mockery out of your amazing video. And if you're nervous about, that's fine, keep it private. There's instructions on how to keep it private here, but that's worth 20%. Basically, during your internship, it's that aha moment. You're going to talk about it. You're going to click this link. You're going to write your script. You're going to record it on whatever. I suggest Screencast-O-Matic, that you can just use your video on your phone. And then you're going to upload. You're going to copy paste the link of your YouTube and make sure you make it private, but share it with Catherine.Elliott@lincoln.ac.nz so I can actually open it. And you'll be graded on those things. Oh, there's my email. And what are you going to say? You're going to say just your first name. You're going to say the internship. You're going to fill all this out. And at the end, you're going to click submit, and it's going to have, you're going to save a PDF of that. So that's your script. Okay, so you're going to write your answers in first. You're going to be able to print your script, and then you're going to submit to me. You're going to record yourself either reading that script or kind of flowing. I want it between, I think I said 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes. And then you're going to just, all you're going to submit on Learn is your YouTube link that I can open with my LinkedIn email. So that's worth 20%, because I want to see also, I know you're like, why don't you just, I know not many people are having you submit YouTube videos as an assignment, but I want you to learn how to use YouTube, because some of these places, these internships might want you to post a YouTube video of what they offer. So it's going to be helpful to know how to use it. Second, I want you to practice being professional in front of a camera. As we all learned from COVID, you know, being on camera is part of real life. That's just, you know, this is our future. It's already here. So you better get used to it and get comfortable looking like a goofball in front of a video and understanding how to make yourself look a little bit better. So, in fact, I need to post, there's some real cool YouTube videos on how to make your background look nice and where to put the lights so you don't look like a shadow. There's some really cool videos on that. So, and you could have a really messy room that no one sees, but you look really professional with your background. So yeah, that's why I put that at 20%, because there's a decent amount of work going in that. And like I said, if there's a moment where you're like, man, I had no idea it was going to be like that, write that down, because that's what you're going to put in this reflection. So Justin, yes, it does very much looking at reflection of your experience. And then, and it could be a situation where you did something right, or maybe you did something wrong, and you can tell me about that as well. So it doesn't just have to be an observation, it could be an experience that happened during your internship. And then assignment 3 is that two-way feedback form. So once you've completed 60 hours or something, 50 to 70 hours, let's call it, you're going to do that feedback form. Instructions are here, so you click that. It's 10%. The link is here, but you're going to read. You're going to say, okay, I'm the intern. This is my name. This is my email. This is the supervisor's name, and make sure their email is correct or they're not going to get it. And you're going to click next, and it's probably not going to let me do it. But basically, there's a series of questions on 10 different aspects that in New Zealand, those aspects were identified as the top most important things for young professionals. Just going to ask you about how's your communication, how is your time management, all those things. And you're going to say, you're going to rank yourself, and then you're going to send that same link, this link here, you're going to send that to your internship supervisor. You're going to paste it and say, can you complete this in the next 2 weeks, please? And then you'll know they completed it because they too are entering your email address in there. So when they click submit, you're going to get their feedback, and that's what you read through. Now you read through their feedback, and you're going to do this two-way feedback form. So here it says, complete 60 hours. Students first do the form, then you send it, here it is again, to your supervisor. Just remind your supervisor if they haven't done it in like the first 7 days to say, hey, I just want, my teacher told me to remind you if you feel too nervous. My examiner said I should remind you after 7 days to complete that, because I need that for, moving forward. I need that feedback so I can make changes and improve my performance with you. And you can, if you say yes, you're going to meet with that person, and you both say yes, then you can make your time to meet and talk about it. And then just respond to those questions. Are you getting along with your supervisor or not? Because then I'll get to see this, and I'll be like, oh yeah, are they treating you nicely and fairly? Have other workers said comments that weren't very nice? Have you had to repeat some tasks and sometimes, and what were they? Or repetitive tasks? Like, basically, are you doing stuff that a 10-year-old can do? Because that's not what I want you to have to do. What have you done so far? Any difficulties? So you'll just submit that in a text box, and I'm going to see all those other answers on the back end. So you don't need to submit those other answers, because I have access to that that website. Where is it? This Qualtrics. I'm the one that made this site. So as soon as you click submit, it's that one. It's kind of like you're submitting it to me directly through outside of the Learn page. And that's really good because, but on the Learn page, you're just going to answer these questions here. So, it wouldn't be assignment from me if it wasn't nice and confusing for you. But if you have any questions like, hey, what's up with assignment 3, just come to my office. I'll walk you through it, because you probably won't remember everything from today. But, and then there's this 60-hour reaction report. So remember, you did the personality test in RECN393. It said what you aligned with the closest. you're gonna actually open those results. I need to pop them in here still. I haven't done that yet. You'll open those results and then you're gonna actually see if you have similar results this year. So now we're a few years out from that. We're gonna see how you changed and look at maybe your skills got even better. Maybe your weaknesses got better. You know, we're gonna see how you changed as a person. So I had you do that, basically that same kind of assignment. So there's a link. You'll submit the PDF that you click here to answer those same questions that you answered in 111. And we're going to compare, and you'll say, oh yeah, in 111, I remember saying I was the inspirer. And I remember what did I agree and disagree with the results? Or did I change from 111? Because in 111, you have to answer if you believe the test results were correct or incorrect. And these are limited to characters, so each letter, so 1,500 to 2,000 letters and spaces. So just get to the point is all that means. And yeah, it's a Myers-Briggs. So you're going to talk about that and click submit. And then you're going to save that as a PDF and submit that onto the Learn page right here. Because you're going to also mention, oh, this thing that is my weakness is actually the thing my supervisor is complaining about all the time. Or this thing that is actually my strength is said the supervisor, you know, so it must really be my strength because here I am in the job and all this stuff, you know, we do on these little surveys and stuff. Actually, it turns out on the job, it is correct, or maybe it's not. But it's just my way of getting you to think about who you are as a person in a deeper way and how, not as a person, but as a professional. And then the final thing is a critical reflective report, 30%. You may or may not remember the theories of leadership slides from RECN393. So I'm going to ask you about that. That's kind of the chapter in the book. So what type of leadership is your supervisor showing? And these are the slides. Going back to good old days. So if you're like, oh, authentic leader, servant, shared leadership. So there's all these leadership slides. There's 98. I combined a bunch of different chapters from RECN393. So I've popped them on. And then your report is you submit it there, but for assignment 5, it's actually at the top, is the kind of here. Assignment 5A, if you download that, that's the PowerPoint, or that's the Word doc. You're just going to answer the questions. You may need to ask your supervisor for some help, but basically just fill in these questions. So give you all the names up here. What business sector is the organization? Public, private, not-for-profit, sport, rec, high-performance sport. What is their funding source? Do they just beg for money? Lottery? Do they steal from the banks? How do they get their money? Steal from the taxpayer. What's their organizational structure? You know, that tree, the organizational chart. So you're going to talk about their leadership. There's a bunch of questions in there, strengths and weaknesses. And the supervisor does not see this. I am the only one that sees this. So tell me about their weaknesses. If they're pretty weak on whatever, let me know, because I can say, hey, you know, with this next student you take next year, can you focus on this? And I never even have to mention your name. I'll just say, yeah, we've been really focusing for all the supervisors. You know, I won't do it in a way that the person knows, oh, that student complained about my whatever. So don't worry, just be honest. I'm going to read this and use it to make the internship even better for the next year. Decision-making models, did they just make decisions? How did they do it? And that's chapter 6 in the PowerPoint, which you'll see. And then was there a code of ethics? What did it look like? That's where you might actually ask the supervisor, and this is how I mark it. Just put a rubric there. And that one's 30%. And the timesheet is actually on this one, this overdue document. It's all due at the end of October 2022 for you. So there's the internship contract. This is just an overview document. Internship, the YouTube, two-way feedback, 60-hour report, 30%, that critical reflective report, and then the timesheet, which is down here as a second tab. All it is, I've kept this stuff in gray because it's just an example, but you'll type in this example, brainstorm for a marketing brochure, put in the date. You started at 8 a.m., you left at 3, and it automatically calculates 8 a.m. Anyway, you can change up here. So you type in the hours and it should automatically, then you enter the minutes you worked. And I think if you leave it, it does the math, yeah. And it'll show you how many hours you worked. And if you scroll over, then it'll show how many, just leave that there. It'll show you, after today, you still have 100 hours left. Like it'll calculate. I've put some formulas in there. But if you don't want to do that, because a lot of students just want to know how many hours of stuff to work. But I suppose you can probably do it, and unless if you want to use your own kind of timesheet, I basically want to know how many hours you worked in a day, what you did, and then for you, if you want to see how many hours you have remaining, you can make your own version of this. It doesn't have to be this timesheet, but I do want that kind of information. I just did minutes because of the way the time is on Excel. It's annoying, but yeah, this way you can keep track. If you're like, 2 weeks out from the second semester and you still have 90 hours to do, yeah, you can be like, oh, I better get onto it. So that's why it's nice as you're calculating your hours, how many you've done. It's also nice to have a little box to see, or just do it. And it's not that hard to do your math. But some people, that was one of the feedbacks I got. They're like, oh, it'd be nice to have a sheet that shows, and I'm just like, okay, well, you can do it yourself, but you don't have to use exactly this sheet. It would be nice to have it in Excel, but if you want to do Word, I don't care, but just tell me what you did, what day, how many hours, and Word's fine, but Excel adds it for you. Word doesn't. So if you scroll down here, it's got how many hours you've done already. So that's the advantage. You can take this and adapt it to how you want. The minute, well, that was just so at the end you could see. If you can figure out another way, you go for it. But I didn't want to spend 2 weeks trying to figure this out. But if someone comes up with a way better thing, send it to me because I'm happy to adopt it for the class.
We had one for work that was like that, but it was hours and it calculated how much you were paid and tax, I think.
Oh, okay. But does it doesn't give you that other countdown of how many hours you still have left, probably. That's the key part. So if someone can figure that out, I mean, I'm okay in Excel, but I'm not a wizard. And then you just pop in your electronic signatures, and I definitely, you do not pass this class if you don't get your supervisor to sign this, because that's the only way I have evidence that you did 120 hours.
So the supervisor has to sign.
Supervisor has to sign that. And then that's it. So what someone, I don't know who, but a mysterious voice came over and said, what is 120 hours? Is that 100% of the grade? And the answer is like yes and no. So if your supervisor doesn't sign off on your 120 hours, then you fail the course because you have no evidence that you did anything. Because the thing about this course is I don't really see you that much, except for now and maybe a few times throughout the semester, or next year maybe. But there's no lectures because you have 120 hours, and at our university for one class you have to have 150 hours total to count as a full course load. So we have 120 working and then 30 hours for your assignments, which is plenty of time. And the time you organizing stuff with your supervisor, like meetings and stuff, that doesn't count on your timesheet. That counts towards that 30 hours of assignments. So just as FYI, you can't really count the first meeting. You can't count the first meeting. What's that?
So if you like roll up to work at 8 and then the meeting at 10.
Well, as long as you're working on internship stuff from 8 to 10, and that's fine. But no, if you're,
But not like all the outside organizing and faffing and copying and.
no, that stuff can count. What I'm saying is that first meeting, when you're,
Right, sweet.
yeah, that first meeting with the supervisor doesn't count because you haven't signed a contract yet. So you can't really start the hours. Once that contract is signed, then everything you do for that person, count it. COVID, no one's asked a question. What if COVID happens? Well, we'll deal with that when it happens, but it's really good to try and get your hours in first. That's why I was like, this year I'm calling a meeting because I usually just send out the email saying, hey, you should really start looking for internships. But yeah, the longer you wait, the more annoying it gets, because then some people end up, oh, I didn't get my internship till first semester.
Rig it up so you're like isolated. So if you're like
Yeah, so
banging around the bush, it's not too big a deal. You just
yeah,
do it.
but depends. Like city council, I think they're not letting people go out. People even that work kind of in the bush for city council, I think they're not letting them do stuff.
Well, it might be a
I
private
think
property.
Yeah, priority people could at level 2, but others, I think level 1.
Get creative and do something.
It depends on the regulations of the organization, but yeah, so COVID, in like last year, we had to cut back some of the hours, like it depended on the student situation, but basically the less hours you do, it's kind of, we can't say, oh, you fail because COVID happened and you couldn't work any hours. We're not going to do that, but the more hours you can work, the more experience you get. So the better set up you are. So, but if you can't get your internship until the end of May, then, we just have to figure out, can you do 120 hours between then and about September? You want to finish your hours by September because you've got, for example, this year, everything is due on the 29th of October. So I usually don't, I do look at some of the stuff, especially, after the 60 hours, some people will be posting that stuff. So I do have a look at it to make sure everything's going okay. But all the assignments are due on the 29th of October. So unfortunately, I know it's nice to get stuff marked as you go, but in this class, it doesn't work that way. I just mark it all at once. But I do give you feedback on your timesheet. So that's, I guess that's one bit of feedback you get. And then I'm happy to meet with students. Just, make an appointment, email me for a time, come to my office, we'll talk about what's going on. So the key is I'm your ally. So I'm going to make sure you get what you deserve in a positive way. I want you to have good experiences, and that's what you deserve. So I'm here. Career Hub, search for listings, use your LU login. You've probably seen this Career Center thing. Christchurch City Council has internships. They opened, that was 26th of May. See, that's why we don't really partner with anyone in particular, because all the times are different. I mean, 26th of May is pretty late to start for internships. So City Council internships are horribly timed, really, for us. Also, these are emails I posted people send me emails. Here's Eric. Here, or Catherine, I've been working with Waikato District Council Parks and Reserves Policy Team. Last year we had all this, blah, blah, blah. If any students are interested, email. Oh, this is by tomorrow. Here, someone could do this. Email Rebecca. She's a senior reserves planner in Waikato District Council. If you have experience in this, yeah, this is more of a policy person. But if you want to have a go, you can look at that one. And so those, like, they haven't filled out the contract, the template. So, but they've emailed me and they have interest. So I'm like, look, sometimes people are kind of too lazy. I shouldn't say too lazy, but they don't have time to fill out the contract. But they want to tell me about the opportunity. So that's where I put them in here. So there's like kind of one email. Here's another one, Nicole. She's with my after school headquarters called MASH. She's a finance and marketing manager. She wants an intern. There are 50 programs in the South Island. They're based on school holidays. If you look at on the school calendars, SH, that little red SH, that's a school holiday. That's for the little kids. That's not your school holiday. It's for like the primary school. So you can see you're in the middle of the semester kind of during school holidays, at least for this year. But school holidays happen in November when the uni's closed. So you could do this one, or sorry, in December. You could do, if assuming they have events on that time. So that's why that calendar is real nice, because here she said, oh, we have programs in Canterbury based on the school holidays. So you can have a look at the calendar and see if you're like, oh, that sounds cool. Or you could check out their website. It's usually just anything after the @ copy that, paste it in. Oh yeah, it has it there. So you can have a look at those. Emily, she's been wanting people. She's with Linwood. So these are all just the emails. Sam, she's up in Lower Hutt if you're going to be in Wellington. This one's ICE trampoline in Rangiora. This one's at Lincoln High. So if anyone's keen to work at Lincoln High, there's one netball development officer, Kelly. That's Christchurch Netball Center. And this one's a few pages. They gave me this PDF. Try rugby. Removing barriers, enabling participation, and enhancing lives through rugby values. There's a few opportunities there. The email is, well, the emails up there. She said, they just said, look, if a student wants to work with these opportunities, email Linda. So I post emails kind of on there. And if absolutely nothing, if you're just like, nah, those are still not interesting to me. What I've done is these are all the people our interns have worked with in past. So you're into marketing, Anytime Fitness in Hornby. You can work with Chris Biddle, and somehow I don't have his email, but you can go on the website and find it. He's worked with a student before. Ashburton District Council in the EA Network Center, which is like a fitness center down there, a gym. The process reviewer, that was a student looking at some of the procedures and processes they had at the gym to see if they were good. And that was with Richard Wood. There's an email and his job title, Sport Facility Assistant Manager. So if you're in this facilities, that would be a cool one. So have a look. These are all the people who have worked with us so far. So they know what they're doing. They've done intern before. Lava City Council, CRFU, Canterbury Cricket. There's some in Wellington, that was a Rangers program. So I've tried to put links on there as well so you can see. But that's going to assume it's over summer and you can relocate to Wellington. So some of you may have hookups, family, friends, whatever. In a few opportunities, they might have the chance for you, they pay for an apartment or they have a hut or whatever you can visit, you can stay at. So you can have a look at this. High school, old boys rugby club, Colts Premier Manager. That's with Jamie. He's a rugby development officer. There's a few development officers on here, actually. Jacobs, Haley Lee is always looking for someone kind of, she's also with the Generate Network. She's taught in some of the classes. Lincoln Event Center has had someone before. Graham, I think we're gonna hire someone new here, but social sport here at Lincoln Uni, if you want to get social sport up and running. Working with the whole students, that could be an opportunity. Let me know on that. And fall maintenance, they're a little bit defunct right now, but the tactics, I had a Skype call with them yesterday. There might be something with the tactics. If you want to do events with the tactics, email me. And if you're this one's a tourism one. If you're into tourism, that was down at the New Cow Cave. So that was down near Teano, I believe. A bit south of here. And over the summer, as you can imagine, a lot of the tourism ones are over summer. The key thing, if you're not sure, like if you have one that's coaching, coaching is a form of management, player management. So the key thing, if you're looking at internships, is look, does it have a management aspect? So this is sport and recreation management. What's the management aspect of it? Kukiko Center, Lawrence Tao, I think actually now that's it's a new person in there now. And that'll be a really good one because she graduated from Lincoln from this program. Recreation Aotearoa, that's more Parks and Rec stuff. That's with Sam. He's an advocacy manager. So I can send you this if you think this will be helpful. Yeah, and some of these, I've got their name. Community rec. This is just a contact, but they may have not. I have their name from whatever reason saying they wanted someone, but maybe they haven't had it before. But yeah, city council. Anyway. Yeah, thank you. So any other questions? That's the internship summed up in an hour and a half. Secondary school head of sport. There's a lot of those folks. You can see by their email what school they're in. And some of the, as you can imagine, these are not automatically updated. Some of these will be out of date, but YMCA, sports admin at Lincoln High, sports activity, Selwyn Sports Trust. Amy wants someone. You've volunteered for them as well in the events class. Sports Canterbury, there's a few people in there that would probably take someone. So if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to see, hopefully by the end of today, I'll send you guys a link to the Learn page. What I want to do is just copy the old Learn page and start a new one, but we'll see if that works or not. Otherwise, just email me your questions. And there's more contacts down here. These are all the cards I've collected over the years, so you can have a look through those. Yeah. Cool. And come to the sport forum on the 20th of October, because you can shake hands with all the professionals that come to that event. It's our 10th anniversary, so there will be cake. Who doesn't like cake? All right, I'm going to stop recording.